Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Friday Read Aloud and Play. If you don't know me, my name is Miss Ashley, and I am the Youth Services Assistant here at the Madison County Public Library. It's so good to see everybody again this week, and this week is really special because it's our very first week of summer reading. So we should have on either our Facebook page or our website some information for how you can sign up for summer reading, because we're using a program this year called Beanstack. So everything is going to be online, and you can keep track of your progress online, and we'll have more information about that either on our website or on our Facebook page. So keep an eye out for some news about how to sign up. But this summer's theme is all about imagining your story. So it's going to be fairy tales and folklore and fantasy and your imagination. And I like to kind of quote SpongeBob by doing the rainbow and saying imagination. I don't know if anybody will know that reference, but I am a huge SpongeBob fan, so I love it. So for today's question of the day, I want to ask you all what you like to do when you play pretend. So maybe you like to pretend that you're an astronaut or a firefighter or a teacher, or maybe you like to pretend something a little bit more fantastical, like maybe you're a knight or you're on an undersea exploration, or I don't know, maybe you're a unicorn or a dragon, or maybe some of the other things we've talked about that are fantasy. So in the comments below, if you can or if you have time, I'd love to hear what some of your answers were, since I can't hear them in person. So we're gonna start today with our bread and butter rhyme. And for this rhyme, you're going to either pat your knees, or you're going to pat the table or the floor or whatever's in front of you, and you're gonna clap. So we're gonna pat and clap. And we're gonna start with fast and slow and loud and quiet. Here we go. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as fast as we can. Hello. Very good. Now we're gonna do it slow. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as slow as we can. Hello. Oh my goodness, it always makes me very yawny in the morning. Now we're gonna do it loud and quiet. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as loud as we can. Hello. Very good. Now we're gonna do it really quiet. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as quiet as we can. Hello. Very good. I think we're all warmed up for our Read Aloud and Play today. And like I said, today's Read Aloud and Play is all about imagination. And I like to do a sign of the day every week. So if you're unfamiliar with this, it is a way to speak with your hands instead of your mouth. So instead of using your voice or your words, you're using your hands. So today's sign is going to be imagination. So you're going to take your fingers and pinch them like this, and you're going to do this. So it's like your brain is thinking about all kinds of cool, crazy things, and that's your imagination. Very good. We might revisit that later, so it'll be a good thing to remember for later. And now we're going to do what, if you were in person with us, would be our parachute songs. But while we're here in quarantine, we're going to pretend we have a parachute. So this one you can do either sitting or standing. It's called The Famous Duke of York. And for this one, you're going to take your men all the way up and all the way down. So you're pretending you're the famous Duke of York, and you're taking your troops up the hill and down. And then for the middle of the hill, we're gonna take our hands straight out and do what I like to call the zombie walk. But to start, we're gonna get our marching feet going. So if you're standing, you can march. But if you're sitting, you can move your arms like you're marching. And that's how we're gonna do the famous Duke of York. Here we go. March, 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 the famous Duke of York. He had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when they're up, they're up. And when they're down, they're down. And when they're only halfway up, they're neither up nor down. Very good. We're going to do that one more time. The famous Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He march them up to the top of the hill, and you march them down again. And when they're up, they're up. And when they're down, they're down. And when they're only halfway up, they're neither up nor down. Yay! Good job, everybody. You've got great marching feet. I think that's a good way to get your exercise in the morning. And now we're going to go over our color signs because we're going to do a really fun tongue twister song called Jenny Jenkins. So our first sign is my absolute favorite. It's my favorite color too. So you're going to take your hands and tuck your thumb in, and that is the sign for blue. So you're taking the sign for B and you're shaking it back and forth. And I like to think of it as the royal wave. So if you think of yourself as maybe a king or a queen or someone famous and you're doing a wave, maybe at a parade. And that's how you say blue. Our next sign is going to be green. So you're going to take your thumb and your pointer finger, you're going to pinch them together, and you're going to shake them. So you're making the sign for G, the letter G, and shaking it. And all of these colors are actually the sign for the letter, and then you shake them to make the color. So for red, you can do it two ways. You can take either one finger or you can cross your fingers. And you're going to stroke your chin like you're thinking, very thoughtful. And you could do that two ways, just whatever's easier, because I know it's hard to get your fingers to cross sometimes. And last but not least, we're going to do what I like to call the surfer hand, or maybe the rock concert hand. So you're going to take your thumb and your pinky, and you're going to shake them back and forth. So you're making a Y, and you're shaking it back and forth. Very good, and that's how we do all the colors. And I think this week for Jenny Jenkins, I'm going to be doing the color signs instead of touching a color, because I don't have many colors around me. I'm surrounded by a white wall today. But for this song, you're going to either find the color on the screen or in the room around you. So maybe if your shirt is blue like mine, or you have yellow around you, or red or green, find that color and touch it. Or for me, I'm going to be doing the sign. So if you can't find the color, you can always do the sign. And then for roll, we're going to roll our arms. So you can roll them this way or above your head or behind your back, however you feel like rolling them. And we're going to start with blue. Here we go. Will you touch blue? Oh my dear, oh, will you touch blue? Jenny Jenkins, I won't touch blue 'cause blue won't do. So I'll buy me a foldy, roldy, tildy, toldy, seek a double, use a cause a roll to find me. Roll, Jenny Jenkins, roll. Next color, we're gonna do green. Will you touch green? Oh my dear, oh, will you touch green? Jenny Jenkins, I won't touch green, it's the color of a bean. So I'll buy me a foldy, roldy, tildy, toldy, seek a double, use a cause a roll to find me. Roll, Jenny Jenkins, roll. Next color is going to be yellow. Will you touch yellow? Oh my dear, oh, will you touch yellow? Jenny Jenkins, I won't touch yellow, it's the color of jello. So I'll buy me a foldy, roldy, tildy, toldy, seek a double, use a cause a roll to find me. Roll, Jenny Jenkins, roll. Last color, and it's going to be red. Will you touch red? Oh my dear, oh, will you touch red? Jenny Jenkins, I won't touch red, it's the color of a sled. So I'll buy me a foldy, rolly, tildy, toldy, seek a double, use a cause a roll to find me. Roll, Jenny Jenkins, roll. Yay! Good job, everybody. Good job practicing your colors. And our last song before we do our reading is going to be the elevator song. So this is a really fun one where we can sway back and forth and then take our elevator up and down. And like I said, if you were in person, we would have the parachute and be taking the parachute up and down. But because today is all about imagination, you can just imagine that you have a parachute and use your hands. So here's how it goes. Oh, the city is great. Oh, the city is grand. There are lots of tall buildings on a little piece of land. We live way up high on the 22nd floor. And this is what we do when we walk in the door. Take the elevator up, take the elevator down. Take the elevator up, take the elevator down. Take the elevator up, take the elevator down, and we all sit down. And I, of course, am already sitting, but yay, good job, everybody. So we're gonna get into our very first story. And before we do, I'm gonna remind you all that our sign for imagination today is this right here. So you're taking your fingers, you're pinching them together, and you're making it think, or look like you're thinking. And that is how you do imagination. So our very first book is called What If? And it's by Samantha Berger. And I'm sure you yourself might have thought, what if at sometimes? Like, I don't know, what if the moon was made of cheese? Or what if dogs were purple? So we're gonna go through lots of different things that we can think about, and we're gonna actually learn about lots of different ways to be creative. So drawing and painting and writing, and we're gonna learn all kinds of fun things. With a pencil and paper, I write and draw art to create many stories that come from my heart. I'm sure you all at home love to draw and to write and to create things and to make up your own stories. And that's a really fun way to use your imagination. But what if that pencil one day disappeared? And here I see an animal that looks a lot like what we talked about last week. It's got one big long horn, just like a unicorn. Remember we learned that sign last week? I'd fold up the paper till stories appeared. And the art of folding paper is actually called origami. I don't know if you all can say that at home. Origami. It is a special art that I think was created in Japan, and it's all about folding paper to make cool shapes. And what if that paper was no longer there? I'd chisel the table and then carve the chair. Now, as a warning, I would not recommend doing that at home. I don't think your parents or the grown-ups around you would appreciate having their furniture carved up. But in our imagination, if we didn't have any pencil or paper, maybe that's how we would create. And what if there wasn't a chair here at all? I'd chip and I'd peel at the paint on the wall. Again, not something I would recommend doing in your own house. I would just ask a grown-up for a pencil and paper or maybe some crayons or something to draw with. Definitely don't want to ruin your furniture, but we can pretend. And what if there wasn't a wall anymore? I might build a story from boards on the floor. And she's in a rocket ship that's counting down. 7, 6, 5, 4. Like she's going to blast off into space. That's a fun thing to pretend. Without any floor, I could still use the land and sketch out a tail in the dirt with my hand. I could still shape the leaves. So in the fall, when all the leaves are falling from the trees, it could be fun to, instead of making a pile, make shapes and cool things with those leaves. That's a fun way to use your imagination. Or I could still sculpt the snow. So I don't know if any of you all ever used the snow to make a snowman or a snow angel or even an igloo. There's all kinds of fun ways to play in the snow in the winter time. And here it's really fun because it looks like they're using marshmallows and sugar cubes, which how fun is that? I love it. I could still plant the flowers and make kingdoms grow. So that's a fun thing to do in the spring and the summer is to garden and grow your own flowers. And I know when I was little, I liked to pretend that my garden was a jungle. So I was an explorer in the jungle. And here she's making her own castle with sand and seashells. So that could be a fun thing to do if you ever go to the beach. Without any lands, I would still use the light. I would invent shadow stories that the sun would ignite. So here we see she's using her hands and making shadow puppets. And that's a program we've done here at the library before. We've used our hands and different pieces of paper to make shadow puppets. And you can use sunlight and just your hands. And that's a really fun way to play pretend. If there was no lights, I would still use my voice. To sing out my stories, to chant and rejoice. And singing and talking is another fun way to share stories. So before we were able to write stories down, we would tell them with our voices and pass them along from generation to generation. So that's even a fun way to create and make stories. I'd still have my body to twist and to bend, to dance out my stories, beginning to end. So dance is another form of art and of expressing yourself. So if you're really happy, you can make up a silly dance, and there's really serious dances, and there's very traditional dances that have a lot of deep meaning. And that's another fun way to express yourself and to be creative and to use your imagination. If I had nothing, but I still had my mind, there'd always be stories to seek and to find. And one fun thing about this book, I can't really show you because the page is very big. I had to cut a lot of it, but there's a really big spread on the page of a unicorn and all kinds of fun imaginative creatures. But if you want, you can always check this book out to see the full page, but it's very hard to show here. If I know nothing but one bit of fate, as long as I live, I will always create. And I don't know how many of you are creative out there, but I know I love to be creative. It's such a fun way to help when you're anxious or stressed out, is to just grab a pen and paper and draw something or paint something or read something or dance or do something like that that's creative. And especially good in a time like this when you might be a little bit nervous or scared or missing the normal. As long as I live, and here we see her drawing, and her neighbor is playing the violin, so you could play an instrument too. I will always create. And that is the end of the story. So a fun way to use your imagination is to be creative, to make something, to use the things around you and make something new out of them. And that's a whole lot of fun. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to play pretend, just like I said at the beginning of this read aloud and play. So we're going to pretend we're lots of different animals. And I can't see or hear anybody out there right now, unfortunately. So I'm just going to have to trust that you're doing the animal movements and making the animal noises with me. So we're going to roar like a lion. So I want to hear your very best roar. We're going to jump like a frog. So at home you can stand up and jump. I'm going to stay sitting. You can snap your jaws like a crocodile. We're going to howl like a dog or maybe even a wolf. We're going to pretend we are elephants with big, long trunks. We're going to pretend we're a monkey and jump, jump, jump. So again, at home you can actually jump, but to stay in frame here, I'm going to stay sitting. And then we're going to make a mouse. So we're going to make little whiskers, and then we're going to see how very, very quiet we can be. All right, I think we're ready to play pretend and do lots of different animals. Let's hear you roar like a lion. Roar! Let's see you jump like a frog. Ribbit. Let's see you snap your jaws like a crocodile. And let's hear you howl like a dog. Ow! Pretend you're an elephant with a big long trunk. Pretend you're a monkey. Let's see you jump, jump, jump. And now you're a mouse. Let me just see how very, very quiet you can be. We're gonna do that one more time. Let's hear you roar like a lion. Roar! Let's see you jump like a frog. Ribbit, ribbit. Let's see you snap your jaws like a crocodile. And let's hear you howl like a dog. Ow! Pretend you're an elephant with a big long trunk. Pretend you're a monkey. Let's see you jump, jump, jump. And now you're a mouse. Let me just see how very, very quiet you can be. Very good. Yay! Very fun to play pretend and be lots of different animals. So our very next story is going to be The Adventures of Beekle. And this is by Dan Santat. And this is another special book, just like last week, because this is one of our 100 books. So whenever we're open again, you can always see these in the library. They're on a big round display, and they are 100 books that we picked out that we think are great to read before kindergarten. You can also find this list online, and you can check these out using either our locker system or our curbside. And when we open next week, we'll have browsing carts available. You can always request items then when you come in. So this is going to be one of our 100 books, and it's about an imaginary friend. So I don't know how many of you all have imaginary friends. This is about an imaginary friend who is trying to find his person to imagine him, because he's very, very patient. He's waited a long time and can't find the person to imagine him. So here we go. He was born on an island far away where imaginary friends were created. Here they lived and played, each eagerly waiting to be imagined by a real child. And there's all kinds of fun animals on this page, and you can't see, some of them were cut off, but there's like a big monster looking one, and a cloud, and a robot. So whatever your imagination can create is what your imaginary friend would look like. Every night he stood under the stars, hoping for his turn to be picked by a child and given a special name. So here we see there's an octopus friend and a panda friend. He waited for many nights. Look at the kitty cat. He looks like he's going to be imagined by a child. But his turn never came. Poor Beekle. Looks like he's on the beach building a sandcastle. His mind filled with thoughts of all the amazing things that were keeping his friend from imagining him. So we've got, he's winning a trophy and he's reading, all these fun things. So rather than waiting, and here it looks like he's cooking and playing guitar and juggling, look at all this. He did the unimaginable. He sailed through unknown waters and faced many scary things. But thinking about his friend gave him the courage to journey on. So here we see a really big whale, and he's on a ship or a boat. Until he reached the real world. And you can tell it's the real world because all of the crazy, fantastical colors have disappeared, and it's a lot more gray. The real world was a strange place. No kids were eating cake. Do you all at home like cake? I know I love cake and ice cream and cupcakes, all kinds of desserts. Whew, that's making me hungry. No one stopped to hear the music, and everyone needed nap time. I know that's very true. I always need nap time, especially in the morning, like this morning. And no one stopped to hear the music. I know I love to listen to music, but I guess everybody here is so busy that they don't even hear it. Then he finally saw something familiar. It looks like one of his imaginary friends. So he followed. He had a good feeling about this place. So it looks like they're at a playground. Look at that. That's so much fun. But he looked everywhere, and he could not find his friend. He climbed to the very top of a tree and looked out, wishing and hoping his friend would come. So he climbed all the way to the top of that tree. And I know some of you all at home might like to climb on things, but it's always good before climbing something big like a tree to ask for a grown-up's permission, because you definitely don't want to get hurt. But no one came, and he's all the way up at the top of the tree, waiting for his friend. He thought about how far he'd come and how long he'd waited and felt very, very sad. Then he heard a noise below. Hello! I wonder who it is. Let's see. Looks like it's a new friend for him. Her face was friendly and familiar, and there was something about her that felt just right. So we see in this last page, she was handing him something. It looks like it was a drawing of her and Beekle. At first, they weren't sure what to do. Neither of them had ever made a friend before. I was thinking hand because it looks like they're trying to shake hands. They're not sure how to do it. But after a little while, they realized they were perfect together. So here it says, "Hello, my name is Alice." And she gives him the name Beekle. And it looks like he's very shy and blushing. And he says, "I'm Beekle." So she gave him the name Beekle, and her name is Alice. And she says, "Hi, Beekle," and she gives him a big, friendly hug. Beekle and Alice had many new adventures. They shared their snacks, and they told funny jokes. It looks like she drew all of their adventures together. The world began to feel a little less strange. It looks like they made an even newer friend. And he's got his imaginary friend, the little lizard we saw at the beginning of the story. And together they did the unimaginable. So a fun thing about making a friend is it opens the gate to make more and more friends. So it looks like they have lots of new friends here at the end of the story. And it's always fun to make your imaginary friend too. And that is the end. Yay, that's such a sweet story. I love it. And like I said, it's one of our 100 books to read before kindergarten. So you can always go on our website or call us or even come in person starting on June 8th. And you'll be able to check this book out from the library. So now we're going to do a very fun classic song. And I am going to stand for this one so you can see my arm movements. And this is "I'm a Little Teapot." So for this one, we're going to be short and stout. So we're going to make a handle with one arm. I'm going to try to move it so you can see my arm. I'm going to make a handle with one arm and a spout with the other arm. Now we're going to get all steamed up. Hear me shout. We're going to tip over and pour out. So this is how we do "I'm a Little Teapot." I think we're ready. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Tip me over and pour me out. Very good. We're going to do that one more time because that's a fun way to play pretend. There are lots of really good nursery rhymes out there that let you pretend to be other things. Here we go. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Tip me over and pour me out. Yay! Good job, everybody. That's a fun one. And you can even make a big steaming noise like a tea kettle that's going off. I don't make a whole lot of tea, but it is fun to hear the noise of a tea kettle going off. All right, we have one more book for you all before we do our bread and butter jam and say goodbye for the weekend. And this is another fun one called Higher, Higher by Leslie Patricelli. And this one's really, really fun because it involves a little girl going to the playground and imagining how high she can swing on the swings. I know when I was little, I used to love swinging and pretending that I was touching the sky or going into space. And there are lots of fun ways to play pretend. You can play in the bathtub and pretend you're in a submarine or a ship, or the pool maybe. You could play on the playground and pretend you're in the jungle when you're on the monkey bars, or even flying when you're on the swing like she's about to. So this might inspire you to think of all the different ways you can use your imagination to imagine different things. I think we're ready to start the story. Higher, higher, she says. And she has her grown-up here with her, pushing her on the swing. So it's always good to have a friend or someone with you to help push you on the swing if you can't quite swing yourself. Higher, higher. And oh, look, she's found a special animal. Do we know what animal this is that she sees? It's a big, long neck giraffe. And you might see these either on TV, like on nature shows, or even at the zoo if you ever go to the zoo. They're really fun. You can feed them like lettuce and things at the zoo. And they've got big, long, silly tongues. Higher, higher. She's going even higher, and we see the giraffe in the corner, but she's also passing skyscrapers, so big tall buildings, just like we did in the elevator song, like you find in cities. So she's going above the tops of those buildings, and she's using her imagination. Higher, and now she's up with a mountain climber on the very top of a mountain, and they're giving each other a thumbs up. So it's a really tall mountain called Mount Everest that a lot of people like to climb to the top of. So maybe she's imagining that she's swinging so high that she's going higher than Mount Everest. How fun. Higher, higher, and now we've got an airplane. Can you all move your arms like you're an airplane in the sky? So she's so high up now that she's in the sky with an airplane. Ooh, I hope she's not afraid of heights. I know I'd be a little bit afraid to go that high. And now we're even leaving the Earth's atmosphere and going higher, higher. So she's looking down on Earth and she's in space. And if you were really in space, you would probably need a special kind of helmet or a spacesuit, but she's using her imagination. Higher, higher. So here we see we've got a monkey in a rocket ship and she's waving hello. Can you all say hello to our monkey friend? Very good. Hi, hi, says the alien. So in her imagination, she's seeing little green aliens and she's saying hi to them in space. So maybe this little alien child was also swinging on his playset and is also imagining that he sees one of us. It's so fun to use your imagination. And now they are high-fiving. So if you have someone around you, like a grown-up or a friend, you can high-five them. Bye, bye. Could you all say goodbye to the big green alien? Very good. It looks like she's gonna start her descent. And a descent is a fancy word for going back down. She's gonna start her descent back to Earth. We see she's going past the airplane and the big skyscraper and the very friendly giraffe. Whew, man, I would get lightheaded going down that quickly. She's even got the little lines to suggest she's going really fast. And further back down, back towards her grown-up. Maybe it's her dad or an older brother or somebody she knows. All the way back down to the ground. Wow, what a crazy trip that was. We saw skyscrapers and giraffes and an alien and a spaceship. How cool. And then she says again, and she gives her big person, her grown-up, a big old hug. So if you're at home with a grown-up or someone you love, you can give them a big old hug. And maybe when we're able to again, we can go back out to playgrounds and swing as high as we want and imagine that we're going back into space. And that is the very end of the story. Yay, that was so much fun. I love doing Read Aloud and play with you all. It's a really fun part of my week. And I hope you'll look into our websites and our Beanstack accounts and make your own summer reading account and track your reading and get your free book and do all kinds of fun stuff. Even though summer reading is a little bit different this year, we're still excited to be doing summer reading with you. And we hope you'll participate and sign up to participate for all of our fun rewards. So we're gonna do our bread and butter rhyme once again, and we're gonna do sad and happy and mad and silly this time. Here we go. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as sad as we can. Goodbye. But we don't have to stay sad because we know that summer reading is starting and you're going to get to come do lots of fun things here at the library. So we're going to have take and make crafts and we're going to keep our live programs going. And you'll even be able to come into the building to pick out a free book and to browse our collection and check things out. So we hope we get to see you. So we're going to do it happy now. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as happy as we can. Goodbye. Hope you all have a great weekend. Now we're gonna do it mad or grumpy and then silly. And for silly, I'll have to use my imagination. Maybe I'll pretend I'm a different type of animal. Here we go. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as mad as we can. Humph. Goodbye. And now we're gonna end with silly. So you can do whatever you want for silly. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as silly as we can. So I'm gonna be lots of different animals. I might pretend I'm scuba diving. I'm gonna do all kinds of funny things as I say goodbye. It was very fun getting to spend some time with you all this week. We hope we'll see you in person as soon as it's safe to. And we hope you'll sign up for summer reading. And look for more news on that on Facebook and our website. Thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend. Goodbye.